All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question, one that really shaped the modern world. How on earth did England, this pretty small island nation known for its pirates and its poets, manage to colonize a massive continent and basically lay the foundation for what would become the United States?
It's one of those stories that just seems totally impossible when you really look at it. England was up against actual superpowers. They were sailing into the complete unknown. And honestly, they were failing, like spectacularly at first. This isn't some simple story of conquest.
In fact, the whole thing really came down to a very persuasive argument, one heck of a lucky storm, and a colony that was just inches away from completely disappearing off the map. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, why even go to America? Before a single ship set sail, somebody had to make the case. They needed a reason, an argument powerful enough to convince people to risk everything, their lives, their money, on this crazy venture. Well, that argument came in 1584 from a guy named Richard Hakluyt. He wrote this paper for the Queen, and his pitch was brilliant. He basically said it was Protestant England's duty, their mission, to sail across the ocean and rescue North America from the influence of the Catholic world, namely Spain. It was a call to action for both God and for country. And the genius here was really in the packaging. Hakluyt wasn't just appealing to religion. He laid out three rock-solid arguments. First, he said, colonization is a way to stick it to our main rival, Catholic Spain. Second, it's going to make England rich beyond its wildest dreams. And third, it solves a problem back home by giving all the unemployed and landless people a place to go and find work. It was the perfect pitch. God, gold, and glory all wrapped up in one. So you've got this great argument for why you should go, but there's just one teensy-weensy problem. Well, actually, it's a giant problem. Spain. The Spanish Empire was the undisputed superpower of the day, and they were not about to just let England build an empire in their backyard. So, England's first move? It was, let's call it creative. Queen Elizabeth basically gave a license to pirates, these privateers they called sea dogs. Guys like the famous Francis Drake were given the green light to go attack Spanish ships, raid their colonies, and steal their treasure. And as you can imagine, this made King Philip II of Spain absolutely furious. So, of course, this all boils over in 1588. King Philip has had enough, and he sends the legendary Spanish Armada to just wipe the English Navy off the face of the earth. Look at these numbers. The Spanish force was colossal, but the smaller, quicker English ships were better suited for the tight quarters of the English Channel, and they actually managed to fight them off in the first engagement. But the final knockout blow didn't even come from the English Navy. As the damaged Armada tried to sail home, a monster storm rolled in. The English called it the Protestant wind, and it just shredded what was left of the Spanish fleet. It's this incredible moment where Spain's naval dominance is just gone, and the path to America, suddenly, it's wide open. Okay, so the seas are clear, the biggest bully on the block has been taken down a peg. You'd think it'd be smooth sailing from here, right? Not even close. The first English attempts to actually build a colony were, to put it mildly, an absolute disaster. Just look at the track record. An early attempt in Newfoundland, total failure. Then you have the most famous mystery in American history, the Roanoke colony, which just vanished. It wasn't until 1607 with Jamestown that the English got something to stick, but even that one almost didn't make it. The people who showed up at Jamestown were not the right guys for the job. Many of them were gentlemen who expected to find gold lying on the ground, not to do the backbreaking work of farming in a swamp. Starvation and disease were everywhere. Honestly, the only reason they survived their first winter is because the local Powhatan Confederacy helped them out. But check out this number, because it really tells the whole story. After 10 years, and after about 17,000 colonists had made the trip, only 351 were still alive. The death toll was just unbelievable. The entire English colonial project was hanging by a thread. And right when it looked like Jamestown was about to become just another ghost story like Roanoke, another cautionary tale, everything changed. And it was all because of one single, totally unexpected thing. Yup, tobacco. This plant, native to the Americas, was about to become the colony's savior. One of the colonists, John Rolfe, figured out a new way to cure it that made it incredibly popular back in Europe. And people went absolutely nuts for it. And when I say the impact was huge, it was astronomical.
The demand in Europe just exploded. Before they knew it, Jamestown was shipping 15 million pounds of this stuff every year. This wasn't about just getting by anymore. This was a gold rush. But the gold was a leafy plant. So just like that, Jamestown goes from this starving little outpost on the verge of collapse to a booming economic powerhouse. But this new success created two huge new problems: an insatiable hunger for two things: more land to grow the tobacco and more labor to work it. And this is where the story takes a really dark turn. Because the very thing that saved the colony, tobacco, is also what led to a tragic and fundamental shift in how the English approached the whole idea of colonization, and especially their relationship with the Native Americans. Think about how this played out. First, you have the Powhatan literally saving the English from starvation. But then tobacco happens. The colonists get greedy for land, pushing further and further into native territory, and pretty soon you've got constant low-level warfare. The real breaking point was in 1622, when a coordinated native attack killed 347 colonists. For the English, that was all the excuse they needed.
So any idea of living side by side? That was just gone. The new playbook was simple and brutal. Take what you want by force. This new model of violent expansion, plus the European diseases that were devastating native populations, completely changed the future of the continent.
So when you look back, the legacy of Jamestown is, well, it's complicated, right? On one hand, its survival, fueled by tobacco, proved that an American colony could be incredibly profitable. That success is what led to all the other colonies being founded. But it also established this template of expansion and dominance that would define the next few hundred years and eventually become the foundation of the 13 colonies and the United States. And that really leaves us with this one final, kind of mind-blowing question. If that one cash crop hadn't become so popular, Jamestown almost certainly would have failed like all the others. The English might have just packed up and gone home. So what would North America even look like today if that simple leafy plant had never taken off? It really makes you think. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.